All right, so welcome to Scrapbook Live. I'm Megan Jacks. It's July 5th. Thanks so much for joining me at the later hour. We're starting this at 11 a.m. Pacific time to allow for ordering from Creative Memories from their newest launch, the C's Please collection. So hopefully you all had a chance to put in your orders today, and if not, maybe you'll check it out this afternoon. So if you're needing today's handout, you can see it in the link below on the recording. If you're watching it on YouTube, if you're live with me right now, you'll see it as the first comment in the Facebook Live. So we're going to go ahead and switch over to the overhead camera and get going. All right, so I am back working with the Happy Hauntings collection. We have ourselves, the reason is when I saw this layout, and this is from August of 2020, right? And this is using the Sparks of Magic collection, which is still available. It's a really cute collection. I was designed kind of to go with theme parks, but I really like the bright colors. It kind of just works well for a lot of things that like Cody likes to do. So it is a great collection. But this layout was all about showing off the laser cut mats and everything that came with the Sparks of Magic collection. So this layout would be really easy to put together if you just wanted to follow what they did, which is they used 1, 2, 3, 4 out of the, I don't remember how many, I think there's 8 or 10 mats in that collection. So they used several of them. Some of them, they may be pieced out a little bit, but you can see where you see the stars, that's a mat, the hearts is a mat, the black mat around the photo is from the laser cut mats. And so the directions are kind of sparse. They just tell you basically use the mat, right? Well, what I liked about it was that decorative detail that kind of goes around the corners. And of course, we can do that with our frame punches. And so I was thinking through the frame punches that I have and kind of what works well. And obviously, the spider web frame punch came to mind. This is a great frame punch, especially if you love Halloween layouts, and I definitely do. This can work as a regular border punch. It also can do as a frame. And so we're going to be using it in its frame function, which was basically going to allow us to create, they're kind of half frames. We really don't need to make a full frame because of the way things are going to overlap. We don't need to see all 4 sides. We only need to see 2 sides. You can see here with the yellow stars, it only shows 2 sides. The red hearts, it only shows 2 sides. We're actually going to use a border maker cartridge on the right side here where you see the blue mat. And I am just going to use a decorative blade on some paper to create where they show that black decorative mat in the middle. So really what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how we can use the frame punch to mimic when we have those decorative mats that we want to kind of have that fun border, and just using a corner of it rather than making the whole frame. So I am really working with a lot of scraps from the Happy Hauntings collection. So I have pre-cut some things because I didn't really want to miscut something, and I was really playing around with how this was all going to look. So I will tell you where I've already pre-cut, and I'll give you the sizes, but I will be showing you how to cut some other things. So I'm going to move some of these pieces out of the way for now. We're going to start with the background. We want to go ahead and get that built. And I do have full sheets of paper that I'm working with for that. So my background is going to be this polka dot paper. And I needed something a little bit lighter and tonal. They use a beige paper here. And I wanted to go ahead and a beige tonal paper from the Sparks of Magic collection. I have this kind of a lighter orangish pumpkin color from the Happy Haunting Shades of the Season collection. And that's the one that I'm going to be using here for it. I'm going to trim this down. They give me the directions for that. They want me in step 2, they want me to trim this top paper to an 11 by 11. So I'll go ahead and do that. I'm going to trim off 1 inch from each side. Or 1 inch from 2 sides, excuse me. So I'll go ahead and cut that. I'm going to double check I've got my straight blade in there. We will be switching the blades around. If you have a decorative blade, I have the Victorian blade. I've got my spider web border frame punch, and then I have the bats and stars border maker cartridge as well. Those would be the ones I'm using. If you have the starry border maker cartridge, that one would look really good with this as well. I mean, assuming, you know, you guys can be doing this with any of your collections, right? So you could be mimicking this, but this is the starry border maker cartridge, and it would work really well for this too. So there's lots of ways that you can customize this to work with your collections and your tools. And so I'm going to go ahead and trim off that 1 inch, getting me down to the 11 by 11. And then what I need to do is, they don't talk about it. They tell us just to use a piece of black cardstock for our background, but I am using decorative paper here. I'm going to go ahead and do this as a frame. So I'm going to go ahead and trim this down. I am going to take off, I'm going to do a 1 inch frame. And that will let me preserve some of the middle paper if I want to use that for mats or a later project. So I'm going to go ahead and set my binder clips. I'm going to set my binder clip so that I start my cut at 1 inch. So I line my trimmer up, or my blade housing up at 1 inch. Remember, just a quick reference, that white line on the side tells me where my blade starts and stops. I line that up at 1 inch, set my binder clip just to the right of my blade housing. Then I'm going to come down here to 11 inches and set my binder clip to the left. Line up my paper here at 1 inch, and then just trim clip to clip. Rotate my paper, line it back up at 1 inch, and again, clip to clip. This is going to give me a 10-inch square out of the middle. I don't think I'll need it for this project, but it will definitely be good to have in scraps. The polka dot paper is really kind of fun. So this paper I'm going to put to the side. I don't need it. And I will go ahead and secure my background, grab my cutting mat, grab some adhesive, this could be, I don't have, hold on 2 seconds, I need to grab an adhesive refill. I took my tape runner out of here to use it for something else, and then it's not back in here, and I don't exactly want to run and go get it. So just some regular adhesive here, and I'm just going to put it on the towards that inside edge. Hugging the inside of that frame. I have just over right around a half an inch to play with in terms of where I'm putting adhesive and what my page, that orange mat, is going to cover. So I just want to make sure that it's going to be good. And then what I'm doing here is I'm just going to make sure this frame is on my cutting mat square, because what I'll do is I'm actually going to rely on the 45-degree angle lines in the corners to help me line up my page mat. I am looking for these lines to come down and come through the diagonal. There we go. That looks pretty good. So here's my background. Okay, so my photos, let me show you my photos really quick so you can see what I'm working with. My photos do not match their photos. They do have a 4x6. The large photo is a 4x6. It mats onto one of the laser cut mats. It was part of the Sparks of Magic. You could also use just a regular mat, a 4.5 by 6.5 inch mat. So that would be an option there. I can tell you for my sample, I already pre-cut with a decorative blade the glitter paper that looks like, it's not actual glitter paper, it just looks like glitter. The other side is just the moons on the purple background. I cut it with a decorative blade. You can kind of see that decorative blade there, 4.5 to 6.5, and that's going to be here. Now I'll work on making it stand out a little bit more, so don't worry too much that it kind of just blends in. I'm just giving you a rough idea with the photos. Over here where they show the woman with her daughter, that photo is put on a half mat. That half mat would be 3¼ inches wide by 4½ inches tall. So that photo, the mat is 3¼ wide by 4½ inches tall. You can't really see that. The photo would then be 3 by roughly, they probably give you a full 1/4 inch on either side of that. So we're going to say that that photo is actually going to be 2 3/4 by 4. All right. That's the red photo. Okay. That's the one that's right here. If you want to follow along their specific directions, it is matted on one of the half mats from the, when you cut the large variety mats in half. So I'm not doing that because my photos didn't work. I couldn't get this photo down to that size. This one is about 3¼ inches wide, 5 tall. It's going to go up here in the corner. And then I have this 4x4 square. So where they give you a title, they use one of the title mats up here at the top. I'm actually just going to be using a square photo. So here's kind of what the layout will look like, right? In general, the photo placement. Now it's about adding in some of those decorative details around it. And we're going to do that by using our frame punch and making some half frame pieces, I guess you would say, to come in here as accent. We'll have one that comes in here, we'll have one over here, and then we'll have another piece using our border maker cartridge on the right side. So let me show you how. The first thing we'll do is we're basically going to make this, but I'm going to use it out of the shimmer cardstock, the black shimmer. So I have some black shimmer paper here. And I'm just starting with a 12x12. You can use a scrap, but you're going to want that scrap to at least be a 6x8. If not, you could probably get away with a 5x7. But we want to make sure we have a decent sized chunk of that scrap. I'm also going to use this shimmer cardstock to give myself a little bit of added mat around this photo, just so that the photo itself stands away from the glitter effect paper here. So I'm going to set this all to the side for the moment. We're going to grab my frame punch. And the frame punches, how we can tell it's a frame punch is we can look for the sides. We look at the side here. Well, there it is. So you can see that line that comes down the design. That tells me that it's a frame punch. The frame punch, the name frame is in the name of the punch. If you still have your box or when you're ordering online, you'll see the word frame in the title of the punch itself, and that tells you it's a frame. If you've already unboxed everything and you're not sure, look for that line on the wings of your punch, and that will let you know that it is designed to turn the corners with ease. So I'm only doing 2 sides. If you want to do a complete frame, you need to make sure you're working with even increments, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Your sides have to be done with even increments. I'm not worried about that so much because I am doing this just on 2 sides. I don't need to worry about how things are going to line up with the other 2 corners. I'm just worried about 2 sides. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead, put my corner, line my corner up with this line over here, the silver line on the left side of the wing. You could also work on the right wing if you want. For this piece, I need it to look like this, right? This is the orientation it's going to be on the page. So it's easy enough for me just to put it in as I want it. The first punch I'm going to do is this upper punch right here. Put my paper in, line it up with that silver line on the left side, and I'm going to punch. Pull my paper to the left, line up the design this time, and punch. I just need 2 punches. I don't need 3, I just need 2. And then what I'll do is I'm going to rotate my paper. This corner here now gets lined up on the right edge, and I'll be punching 1, 2, 3 times. That square comes away. And there you can see how it turns that corner so nicely. The pattern lines up. So there's my second punch. I'll do it one more time. My third punch. Now this is truthfully all I need out of this paper. Out of this particular piece right here, this is all I need. So I'm going to actually come in with my trimmer. And I am going to slice even right along that edge up here. So I've lined that up, come straight down. I'll turn it, come up here to the top, line that up here, and cut. So this is going to be the piece coming back here to my layout that's going to come over to this side. All this area will be covered up as I layer. What I was really focused on is getting these spider webs right there, that corner. So before I take this away, the next piece I need to do, and I'm actually not going to punch it for you because I already made it and I didn't have enough scraps of the paper to make a second one. It's the glitter paper. I did the exact same thing. This 2 punches on one side, 3 on the other with this paper. I wanted the purple, and this is going to get layered here at the bottom. Now here's what I want you to pay attention to when you're doing this is you really have to pay attention to where you're punching your paper, right? The black didn't matter so much as if I needed to, I could flip it over. The first time I punched this, I messed up and I punched it so that my things actually wanted to go to the other side. It was all just messed up. So when you're doing this, think about where you want to start your punch. So I knew that I needed that punch to come, my frame to come along the left edge and the bottom edge. So when I was punching it, I had to think about, okay, let me rotate. What corner am I putting in, right? What corner am I putting in? And so I needed to make sure that I put in this corner first and punched. When I first did it, I did it all backwards. So just pay attention, use a scrap piece of paper if you need to, so that you are keeping track of the corners and you know that you're going to punch it the right way. The first time, like I said, the first time I did it, I messed up and I punched the wrong way. I was really upset because I don't have a lot of that paper and I didn't necessarily want to open another pack. Okay. So these 2 punches are done with the spider web. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I want to make the decorative piece that comes over along this side. We already mentioned that we're going to be using the Bats border maker cartridge for this. All right, this is the Bats. It's a knockout style punch, meaning when I punch it, it's not altering the outside edge of the paper at all, and it's staying attached. It is literally just punching a bunch of bats and stars out of your paper. The edge will remain however the edge is. If it's a straight edge, it will remain straight. If it's a decorative blade or you've torn the paper to give yourself a little bit of an edge, a decorative edge, it will stay that way. And that's what we're going to do. I'm actually going to use the decorative blade on my trimmer here. I'm going to use Victorian. And I've got this piece of paper. It's a scrap, everything. I use a lot of scraps in this. This piece of paper is 8 inches tall. The reason it is 8 inches tall is because my bats are going to punch every 2 inches. So the segment that it punches here is 2 inches. If I use 7 inches, I will have to, it'll be cut down the middle, which cuts off half of a bat, and it looks kind of funny. It just gives you a unfinished edge where that bat, where the paper is cut when you're using an odd increment paper. So instead of doing 7 inches, which would actually line up, this blue mat they use is probably 7 inches tall. And so from top to bottom is 7 inches. I'm extending mine to 8 to let me get 4 punches in and give myself a nice edge at the top and the bottom. So this paper is 8 inches tall. It is roughly about 3 inches wide. Some of it's going to be covered up as I layer things around, but a 3x8 will give you a good size to work with. It will fit into my border maker cartridge or my border paper holder without having to use any Post-it notes. But the first thing I want to do is I want to use my decorative blade. Remember, I put my Victorian blade in there, and I'm going to trim off and give myself a decorative edge. So I'm just going to put this in here. I don't need to cut very much off. I'm just cutting enough to give myself that decorative edge. Now I've got that decorative edge in there. Now I can put this in my paper holder for the Border Maker system, line up that decorative edge. There's my decorative edge. And I can go ahead and punch with this. We did the same thing a couple weeks ago when we made the fur baby one, and I tore the edges of the cardstock and then punched with the paw prints punch. It's also a knockout style, and so that works great here. If you're using any other punch that's not a knockout style, like if I was using the starry border, you can see that edge. See how it's just gonna cut off that edge. It has its built-in decorative edge already, whereas the Bats and Stars does not. And I am just punching 4 times. And let me just show you what I mean. As you can see, when I put this on here, see how I have a nice edge at the top and the bottom? If this had been any shorter, if I come in and made this 7 inches, it's almost impossible to get between these bats and that star without either having a really fussy cut where you really work around, which could be done, right? You could just fussy cut around them. But it's not easy to get a straight cut. And then all of a sudden I've got like half of a bat wing down here and a full bat wing up there. So it's just easier for me to extend this to 8 inches, do 4 full cuts or punches, and I've got a nice top and a nice bottom. The other thing I want to do here is, I'll show you. I had already decided I am going to back the bats with some black. All right, you can't see them very well there, so I'm going to go ahead, just grab my repositionable adhesive. I've already got a piece of black cardstock that's cut to just about 1 inch, so 1 by 8 inches, and I'll put this on there, and that way those bats will stand out a little bit more. So now when I slide that in there, you can really see those bats starting to stand out on that side there. All right. So as you can see here, I've got the purple spider webs down on the side. I got a little bit of this glitter paper, or this glitter effect. It's not a true glitter paper. What I am going to do, I want to go ahead and give myself a little bit of separation between this photo and the glitter effect paper there. I am going to go ahead and trim myself a very thin mat. I'm using the shimmer paper. This is the black shimmer paper. My scrap that I had is not big enough. I'll use that for something else. I'm going to go ahead and trim this. I'm actually probably going to cut my 4x6 photo down just a smidge, maybe taking 1/8 of an inch off all the way around it. I want to make sure plenty of my glitter paper shows here. So I'm actually going to trim this piece. I'm going to trim it to a 4x6. Oh, and see, I messed up. I left my decorative blade. I wanted my straight blade. So we'll trim it slightly smaller than 4x6. Or slightly smaller than 4. I can still make it that 6 inches wide. Come over here to 6. I'll trim it a little bit less than 6 so that it's proportional. I'm going to have a nice chunk of that glitter all the way around. And then I'll grab my personal trimmer. And this is where I love the personal trimmer, where I can come in and cut off just a tiny bit all the way around it. Cutting about 1/8 of an inch off on all the sides. Now, of course, I could have just cut off 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to cut off just a little bit more. I don't want a huge amount of black showing. I just want a little fine border all the way around it. That looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere this photo on here. Start getting some of these pieces adhered into place so that I'm not moving. I mean, this has, you know, 4 layers to it. I have a photo, I have a small mat, I have a chunky decorative mat, and then I've got my frame. That's a lot of pieces to be keeping track of. It's easier at this point to just go ahead and start putting them together. So here we go. I'm not going to worry about doing this one up here yet because I may have to tuck some things into place, but I've got this here. So, all right, going here with this. Now I need something that's going to go up in this corner. It's going to be behind the 4x4 photo. They used a 4.5 by 6.5 inch mat with that title mat on top. So what I'm going to do is I've got a 4x4 photo. I don't really need something that's that full 6.5 inches wide. So what I actually cut was a 4.5 inch tall, that same height. I want the same height. I want that nice chunky border all the way around it. But I think I'm only at 6 inches wide. Give a little bit of tuck here, and I may actually cut it shorter. So I start putting these people, yeah, it's a little too wide still. I want it maybe just a little bit wider. If I wanted to put a title, I could put some stickers sideways on there, give myself that title. This is the part when I was kind of doing just a dry fit. I wasn't 100% sure what size. I'm going to bring this down to 5.5 inches and see how that's going to fit. The one thing that's a little bit nice here too is this is a 4x4. I can peekaboo pocket this if I want. I could have done a peekaboo pocket down here as well, because I have overall this where that black mat is, you know, it's roughly that 4x6, but probably the 4x4 is where I'll do it. It'll flip up. It'll have a little bit of information. His little, Cody's little friend, this little girl in our neighborhood, she moved away, but his little best buddy, for there. So I'll have something like this. This paper comes down just a little bit. And just playing around with it a little bit. I think I will trim this down even more. I was at 5.5. I'm going to take it down to 5. This paper, I think, so this paper, this striped paper and this paper, this orange paper are from the Shades of the Season set from Happy Hauntings. And then you can see here, they have a little journal box off to the side over here. So I'm adding in that same thing. So that was an embellishment. It's probably 2 by 3 inches. I went ahead and cut a light colored, this same color here of this light violet, the purple color. I've got it and it kind of tucks in. It actually comes in here and tucks in behind, on top of the frame, but behind the photo. And I'll be able to come in if I want with some, I could come in with the either writing directly on this piece of paper, or I'll probably trim a small piece of journal paper, of white journal paper, and come in as such. So here you're starting to see it's really starting to take shape. That's kind of how things are going to be. It's now a matter of coming in and adhering all of the pieces into place. So let me go ahead and start doing that, putting these pieces on. Alternating a little bit back and forth on my styles of adhesive that I'm using. I do know that my spider webs definitely need to be pushed to the side. I've got a lot of, a lot that I'm trying to fit on 11 inches, right? So, I see a question about the decorative trimmer. I'm actually using a decorative blade that goes with the Creative Memories 12-inch trimmer. So we do have a decorative trimmer. We'll just have a quick lesson here. This is the decorative trimmer. So when we talk about the decorative trimmer, we're talking about this one. It's a 12-inch trimmer, has two different guides for blades to give you kind of that wavy decorative edge. So this is a great tool. It's been around forever. It's one of the core Creative Memories tools. In 2019, they came out with their new rotary trimmer, and they gave us a bunch of decorative blades to go with it so that you can order. So this is the Victorian blade. There's a wave blade. There's a scoring blade. There's like, I think 9 different blades, roughly 9. And it's really great as they do have a storage spot on the backside. I don't use the storage when I'm at home, but when I travel, I do use it. Otherwise, these just end up in a little spot in my Rascog cart where I keep everything. But that is the decorative blade for the trimmer, and it's super nice because it just pops in and out. You just swap around. It's really easy to swap those blades out. So just always double check when you're doing it that you have the right blade in. All right, so I needed to make sure that my spider webs are on here, and they're on here tucked over to the side. This piece, put a little bit of adhesive on those spider webs. So here we go, trying to get this on here, trying to tuck this in. Like I said, I'm squeezing in a lot for this. Just kind of loosely putting things on here. I'm going to have it cover up some of my bats over here. I don't want to be too close to this edge. I want to make sure that I have the that I have some of that orange showing through. I'm not doing a full push down either. I'm kind of just putting things in place. Trying to preserve his little pumpkin there. I really should have trimmed this photo a little bit differently, pushed him off to the side a little bit more. That probably would have been helpful. It's the downside of cropping your photos before you get too far into your layout. You just never know that, oops, I should have cropped that a little bit differently. But those are usually the types of things that only I notice. Nobody else seems to notice them. And then this piece will get tucked in. And I chose the lighter color here because I wanted to balance it out. I've got this light purple over on this side. I want to pull it over here to this side. So there in general is the main placement of the items. What I have now that I would be able to start working on is of trimming a small piece of white or that journal paper to come in here, or just a piece of white cardstock that I've drawn some, to hand draw some pencil lines on there for journaling. Or I could come in and just use the various, I've got stickers and so forth that go with Happy Hauntings. I'm not sure how I will do the, if I will come in with any of the embellishments and things like that. I've got some stickers to work with if I want to add those in. So I'll play around with a little bit. I hadn't given too much of a thought to the various ways that I could accent this. I have stickers that I need to see what I have available and sort through all of my stuff to do that here. So that is basically how the layout comes together. It is definitely a little bit of a piecing things together. The directions themselves don't give you a lot of sizes, but if you are familiar with the Creative Memories product lines, you can start to guess at a little bit of the sizes where they use these title mats. You know that Life is Better mat is a 4x6, and then it has a 4.5 by 6.5 inch mat around it. And you can start to just kind of play around with it a little bit. I do love the frame punches. Those are pretty exciting, especially with the spider webs. Might play around with this just a little bit. I've covered up more of the spider webs than I wanted. I may trim this down a little bit so we can see a little bit more of the spider webs. I'm not sure there because I really don't want to cover up all the spider web. Let me see if I bring this down to closer to 3. We'll go 3 by 2.5. So it is a fairly small, just a few lines that will come in with for that journaling. And there you can see a little bit more of how that spider web turns the corner there. So that will probably work a little bit better for a journal block. Maybe tuck it in there and then come over here with this side for some additional details. All right, so that's the thing. I'm gonna, off camera, I'll finish up a couple additional details to go ahead and finish this layout. The big thing here for me would be just to make sure that I include the name of his little friend here from the neighborhood. That she did move away, so he doesn't remember her very much. I certainly do. Sweet little girl. And then the year. This was probably this was when he was 2, and so this would have been 2016. So it would have been our second Christmas in our house here in Washington State. So yeah, seeing a little bit more of that spider web here at the bottom, and really just shows off that frame punch. We took the effort to make it a frame, right? To turn that corner, we want to make sure we show that off. So thanks you guys so much for watching and hanging in with me for the time change for this, right? A kind of an unusual thing for Creative Memories to launch product on a Wednesday, but they did, right? And hopefully you've had a chance to order that. Just a quick hint on that. If you are at all interested in the Buy It All bundle, those seem to have been selling through pretty quickly because the mats have been selling out a little bit sooner than normal. And so that is just something to keep in mind. And of course, there is a spine promotion going on right now. If you buy 3 or more custom spines for your albums, you can get 30% off or 33% off all of your spines as long as you order 3 or more. So that's all I have for you this week. Next week is the virtual crop, so make sure you are tuning in for that. That'll be starts on Friday. It's the second Friday of the month, which will be the 14th. And of course, that's when the secret box will be revealed. So I know the secret box, I feel like we forgot all about it, right? It's like sitting here waiting for me to play with it. Super excited about it. And then the 17th, or the 14th, we will also have a preview of the July promotion. It's the big summer promotion that Creative Memories does every year. So I will not see you guys until the 19th. That will be the next time that we get together for Scrapbook Live. So I'll get that event up on Facebook so you can mark your calendars. And of course, it's always available to watch on YouTube later. It should be at the normal time, the 10 a.m. Pacific on Wednesday, July 19th. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I will see you all soon. Always reach out to me if you have questions about anything. I'm always happy to help. Thanks for watching.